first state of Credmark internal call this morning on the community server. And I believe Neil's plan is to actually make that a public event going forward. So this actually might be the last community call that happens in this way. So it might change the format slightly how we do this. You'll be able to kind of hear what we as the team communicate to each other every week, as opposed to me sort of bringing that information through like a secondary source every week or every other week. So that'll be an interesting change that happens. Likewise, we added a bunch of new roles. So I really encourage y'all to check out the pick roles channel in the lobby, which is what we renamed that first section. We've added roles like engineering, modeling and research, sales and marketing, product and design, and operations. Each of those roles is permissionless to choose, and they will give you access to the corresponding to chat in the corresponding categories of the departments. Every department has its own department head. A lot of this stuff we're still figuring out as we go, but for the most part, operations is run by Paul or Haratani Tarns. He is in our Discord. Product and design is run by Matthias or Matt CMK. Sales and marketing is headed up by Wen Chow and Electra and Collier. Models and research is run by Asan, and then engineering is run by a combination of Neil and a few other folks. So, reach out to them if you want to get involved. I think the way our project is set up, we have roles for pretty much everybody. There's always work to be done, and we're hoping to just sort of get all of our communication and all of our processes out in public. I think the single most important category that we want to focus on is engineering and models and research. I know a handful of y'all have been talking to me and some other folks about building models, and we've kind of been doing it in this sort of high-touch way where we communicate with y'all directly. I think going forward, we want that discussion to happen in these categories. In an ideal world, maybe not an ideal world in my mind, I imagine that the engineering category is where you go if you have help, if you have problems like installing the framework or getting it to work. And then once you get it working, then you have questions about modeling. You go to the models and research category. But maybe that thinking is totally backwards and not right. So I'm really curious to see what y'all think about where you'd like to get your support from or what's most effective. And yeah, I think the last thing I have on this is that we want engagement up across the board. So feel free to reach out to us. We're all in this public server now. There's no more private server. So any team member is available to chat with you guys about any questions you might have. And I think you're going to see a lot more activity in general as we ramp up this product and get more clients onboarded. So I'll open up the floor to questions anybody has about how this new system operates. Anybody on the team who wants to jump in and add their 2 cents, just raise your hand and I'll add you, and we can further the discussion. Anybody? Paul, do you want to jump up and maybe explain what operations is from your perspective?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. So operations is all the boring stuff that nobody ever wants to deal with. Finance, legal, HR, governance. So I know there are people out there who are interested in this stuff, and we'd be really happy on our team to get any kind of help people are willing to provide. It's not true that it's boring. Some of it's actually pretty interesting. But hey, it's not engineering, and nobody gets big shout outs for it.
Cool. Yeah. So not exciting stuff, but really important stuff, and potentially, there's a lower barrier to entry than say engineering.
Yeah,
Matthias,
exactly.
do you mind hopping up and maybe giving your version of how you think product and design moving forward?
Hi, yeah, sure. So in terms of product and design, I think we will cover a lot of stuff, what is related on the one hand side to the design, so how the UI and everything looks like that we're offering. So especially in terms of the terminal and the Credmark wiki, what was formerly known as the risk library. So I think this is really the place for everybody who's more into design stuff and yeah, customer journey and stuff like this. And on the other side, I really appreciate any kind of feedback and new ideas for new product features and stuff like this. So this should really be a place where we can discuss, okay, what kind of product or specific features we should offer our clients. More from a user perspective, and then I think if it goes into the technical details, we will hand over this to the engineers. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to get some more engagement from the community, and I think there are a lot of interesting ideas out there, and hopefully somebody will or yeah, there will be more discussion in this chat than yeah, what kind of features we should add, what others are offering, and how we could differentiate us from what other protocols are doing.
Cool. Yeah. I'm looking forward to sort of seeing the discussions that we have internally now, kind of more out in public. So yeah, I mean, I don't have much more else to add besides we're all here to support, any questions you guys have. We really want people using this framework, this technology we've built. And the current partners we have are working on some really cool stuff. So I'm excited to sort of talk about that more publicly going forward. And then, yeah, I think this call will become State of Credmark, which is our internal discussion, which we're going to have publicly now. So this will be potentially the last time that works this way, but it won't change too much. It just might be on Monday as opposed to Tuesday, and it might happen twice a day as opposed to just once for both sides of the world. So look out for announcements about that. And unless there's any other questions, we can keep today's call relatively short. And then going forward, just feel free to reach out to me prior or whatever for any questions. So I'll hold the floor for any last minute questions. Then we can call it a day.
Sounds good. I'm pretty excited about all this.
Got one question from Waylon, Willie, and me. What's up, man? You are muted right now.
Sorry about that. There you are.
Yep.
Yeah, I just came across an idea in another field of knowledge called subsidiarity, and it came out of Catholic social doctrine and then became a part of operational thinking in a lot of different fields. And it has to do with how decisions are made and at what level. And in that concept, in subsidiarity, centralized operation or a centralized authority structure operates as a subsidiary to the decision-making apparatus. And in the theory, decisions should always be made at the smallest or most immediate level of operational utility. And I was thinking about that in terms of how these decentralized projects are working, and I wanted to ask your thoughts on what that looks like going forward. as you begin to structure as the governance models are emerging out of projects like this, how is that structure set up? At what levels are decisions being made? The idea here is always that it should be made at the most immediate level. Decisions should be made at the most immediate level, and only if an entity can't make that decision is it then kicked up to a more centralized structure.
Paul, you want to take that?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that that's how things need to work. And what we're seeing is that people are just overwhelmed by these very specific governance votes that take place, and so we really need to I don't want to say pigeonhole because that sounds kind of negative, but get people into a space that's relevant to them, and then make sure that governance around that particular area is localized there. I think that's the only way to get really solid, useful engagement. So I've been thinking about this a lot. That's kind of where I'm falling on this. I'm totally in line with you.
Right on. Yeah, I see it. I mean, that's one of the important things that projects like this is doing. It's creating and defining a new way of operating and doing all kinds of business. So it's really powerful.
Yeah, it's kind of trial and error, but we're working through it.
Awesome. Thought I'd throw that out there. Thank you for your feedback.
Thanks.
And for the chance to talk. Appreciate it.
Cool. Yeah. Great question. I think it's definitely relevant with what we've just done with this merging of our communication channels. And we'll see how it goes going forward. As Paul said, it's going to be an interesting experiment. Any other questions? All right, then. I guess we'll be holding these sort of chats every week now as part of our sort of team communication. And we encourage you guys to join those and kind of get a glimpse into how we're operating as a team and how we're communicating information. And it'll be a much easier way to stay up to speed on what we're doing, and to sort of push this forward and put it more publicly going forward. So until then, feel free to reach out to us, offline, and we'll all talk real soon. Have a great week, y'all.